Okay. Aha! There we go. We are live. Excuse me. Hey there, Edbert Wisely. We'll just help everyone. Help everyone. Just get people in. So, can you hear me all right? What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to start sharing this now. I need to get better at this, but I will. So, let's see, John D. Ruddy. Red Blazer 699, Boy John Lad. Hi. What is the crack? My mic is on? Yes. Oh, actually, I should be able to hear it myself. My mic is on? There we go. Let's just mute that before it starts a mad audio. Or what if I have a conversation with myself? Let's just mute that before it starts a mad audio. Or what if I have a conversation with myself? Let's just mute that before it starts a mad audio. Or what if I have a conversation with myself? Let's just mute that before it starts a mad audio. Or what if I have a conversation with myself? Let's just mute that before it starts a mad audio. That sounds spooky. That sounds spooky. Okay, I'm just gonna turn down my speaker, and that should kill the mad feedback loop. Blaze, you're on a plane? That's impressive. Let's see. That's impressive. Okay. So I'm going to see if I can have a conversation with myself. Okay. So I'm going to see if I can have a conversation with myself. Okay. So I'm going to see if I can have a conversation with myself. Hi, John. Okay. So I'm going to see if I can have a conversation with myself. Oh no, John, you're just going to start looping and looping and looping. Hi. What's crack? Oh no, John, you're just gonna start looping and looping and looping. Hi, what's crack? Oh, good. And yourself? Oh no, John, you're just gonna start looping and looping and looping. Hi, what's crack? Oh, good. And yourself? Oh no, not too bad. This is gonna get pretty intense pretty quickly. I'm just gonna quit while I'm ahead. Sorry, I'm messing here. Experimentation. All the sound engineers out there are just like, John, don't ever do that ever again. There we go. There's a bit of chill music for me. Talk about your future self and then respond to your past self. I'm going to try it one more time because I think there is something to be done in it. Hold on. So, let's see. Hey, John, do you want to know about your future? Because I'm talking from the past right now. Do you want to know about your future? Yes. I'm talking from the past right now. No way. Well, should I not be the one to know about your future? I'm talking from the past right now. No way. Well, should I not be the one to know about your future? Well, no, you're in the past. No way. Well, should I not be the one to know about your future? Well, no, you're in the past. I'm in the future. What are you on about? Well, no, you're in the past. I'm in the future. What are you on about? Dude, you're in the past. Seriously. Like, that's how this works. You know, it's... Dude, you're in the past. Seriously. Like, that's how this works. You know, it's... I kind of feel like I'm in that episode of Doctor Who where I'm having a conversation with the... Easter egg. Dude, don't interrupt me. That's just rude. I'm having a conversation with the Easter egg. Dude, don't interrupt me. That's just rude. I didn't interrupt you. Easter egg. Dude, don't interrupt me. That's just rude. I didn't interrupt you. that. Like, I bring you on here onto this live stream from the past, and then you claim to be from the future, and then I bring you on here onto this live stream. I brought you on here. Oh my God. From the future, and then I bring you on here onto this live stream. I brought you on here. Oh my God. John, this is about as far as this little bit can get without it being cleverly scripted. So I bid you adieu. Thank you very much. I have people to talk to. Hi, people. So I bid you adieu. Thank you very much. I have people to talk to. Hi, people. So silly. Anyway, I'm going to mute that. So silly. Talk about your future self, yeah. It is very silly. Now, let's put my... Oh, yeah. Where's my music? Let's get my music. So, how are we doing, folks? No, I'm just going to share these onto all of the socials. No, John. Don't start having a conversation there, too. Please. The people have... Actually, the people have not spoken. People are like, yeah, whatever. Share. So it is April 26th, 2024. Bomb X or Bumps. Bonks. I'm gonna say Bomb X. Glad you made the video. It takes courage to tackle a situation like this. Absolutely. It was a tricky one. You know, I did not do it lightly. Do you know what? Actually, I'm going to do a story, I think, because there's no point in actually making a post. I'm going to do a story. Yeah. Post story. Oh yeah, story. There we go. Hey folks, we're live. Hey look, we're live. We're live. We're on the YouTubes. We're on the YouTubes. We're live. So I'm gonna put a link here to. So come join us. And then you can go over onto Instagram and see me post this and be like, this big mad meta insanity. Yeah, there's nothing. Hey folks, we're live. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and sticker. This is how all the behind the scenes works. It's we're live. So I'm gonna put a link here to. So come join us. Hey folks, we're live. Oh wait, no, that's the URL. We're live. We're on. Customize sticker text. We're on the YouTubes. We're live. So join us now. I'm gonna put a link here to. So come. Yeah. Come join us. Hey folks, we're live. Hey look, we're live. And we're live. We're on the YouTubes. We're on the YouTubes. We're live. There you go. That's live. So you can go and check out. Oh, we got a super chat. Thank you so much. C-Vlog. Hi John, have you heard of the JFK Memorial near Runnymede, Surrey, located in a 1-acre piece of land donated to the US? I did not know about this. I would definitely love to. Visit there. Particularly given that. Well, I would assume that the reason why it's there is because the link between the Magna Carta and the American Constitution. Where the Magna Carta was signed at Runnymede or in and around Runnymede. It was basically a big document saying, hey king, you're like not all powerful. And the king was like, sure. This is the thing as well, is you know, the common kind of misconception of, oh, he signed the Magna Carta. It was King John who signed it. Yeah, John. And he signed the Magna Carta. He didn't sign the Magna Carta. He put his seal to it, his stamp, you know, the wax seal, which is often how they signed very important documents like that back in the day. Although, what I did discover the last day, so I have been working with a wonderful group of young people. This is my third year doing it now. Actually, the first 2 years are on this channel, so you can go back and watch them later. It's called Fido, and it's a project where I've been working with the Errigal Arts Festival, all about working with young people who have come to Donegal here in Ireland from other countries and exploring their stories through animation. And we've been meeting in this really cool place in Castlefin, where it's like, I never even knew it existed, but it's like the White House Memorial Garden or something to that effect. But basically it's like all celebrating like kind of Irish American connections, and because like basically every president except like Martin Van Buren has some kind of Irish heritage, or Ulster Scots Irish heritage, and so it's that. But the room itself is, I need to find this out because I was looking for it, because they were making the links to like James Hoban, who was the architect of the White House, who was Irish, and but the room itself is oval shaped, and I have a sneaking suspicion that it's actually built to the dimensions of the Oval Office, which, if that is the case, that's very cool. Also, though, James Hoban didn't design the Oval Office, because the Oval Office didn't come about until, like, well, because it's part of the West Wing, and I do believe the Oval Office didn't come about until, oh, what's his name? The big dude in the 1910s. He was president when the Titanic sank. Oh, what do you call him? I can see him. Huge man. He was massive. Kind of classic fat cat look. You know, because he was all in with all the other fat cats. Oh, what was his name? Oh, if you know. Taft! Thank you, Troca Nero Taft. William Howard Taft. There we go. I knew it was a name like that. Yeah, William Howard Taft. Thank you so much. Right. Posted it there. I'm going to post it on my Patreon too. Because I'm still trying to work it out how. So, because I'm running this live stream through OCN, so I'm not able to like post the link up beforehand. You know, just so I get all of this fancy. Is this the right side? Yes. Where I've got, you know, all of my little man dudes down here, and all of the fun, exciting links and stuff over there. Be sure to follow all my socials if you don't already. But I figured, you know, I'd make the live look fancy and stuff. I say I'm new to this. I've been playing with this for a couple of years now. I should be a bit better. Although I've been like about a year and a half, 2 years properly out of action on live streams. But I have now finally, it's kind of part of my New Year's resolution to schedule in a monthly live stream, and so that is what I hope to do. I hope to do it on the last Friday of every month, in and around this time, about 5:30, 7-ish, depending on availability and stuff. But I do aim to do that, so that's exciting. But I will be giving you some updates as to what I'm doing, but I'm also terrible at multitasking. So I'll put it up on Threads. This is a great way to actually just bring you through all of my social medias. Yeah, I finally joined Threads, and we're live. Yeah, I'll just do that, and I'll put that on Blue Sky as well. I got like about 2 followers on Blue Sky. But shout out to Geeks with Shields podcast, because Geeks with Shields podcast likes every single one of my daily history posts on Blue Skies. So thanks for that. And Dr. Omega, who I kindly let walk across the road today. So hi, Dr. Omega. So let's see. And we're live. And then if I can get it to a point where I can actually have this be live on YouTube. I know there's a way to do it where you can get it live on YouTube and get it live on Twitter. Not that I use Twitter much anymore, and I'm still calling it Twitter. as many trans people have kind of joked about, it's the one thing that trans people are happy to dead name is Twitter. Oh dear. Because, you know, Elon Musk is just a terrible person. So let's see. I'm now gonna catch up with some chat here. So honestly, says a lot about different politicians' support who in the war. John. Okay, the memorial depicts. Oh, this is the JFK one. The memorial depicts various facts about JFK, including the words, "Let every nation know whether it wishes," or let's say it in a JFK voice. "Let every nation know whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, meet any hardship, bear any burden." Cool, that was terrible. Oh yeah, Discord. I have a Discord as well. I'm terrible on Discord. What I've kind of started doing, so I do have Patreon has started up essentially a Discord, but it's like kind of on Patreon. Oh, that was the other thing. Thank you for reminding me. I need to post this on Patreon. Oh, I'm trying to keep up with Patreon. I love Patreon, and I love everyone who supports me on Patreon, because you really, really help keep this channel going. And thank you so much for everyone who supports me on Patreon. I'm just going to put a link, embed URL. There we go. Livestream. Oh, whoops. There we go. There we go. Just a shout out of a couple of new members here. I can shout out to Brian, who like literally joined 5 hours ago, which is exciting. Mr. D. Oh, and James Ruddy, fellow Ruddy. Hey James. Alfrant, Awesome Fire 45, G.L. McCluskey, Christopher Van Vliet, or Vliet, I say Vliet, John Francis Vey, Jamar McQueen, and Catherine Ellis. You are all very welcome to my Patreon. Thank you so much. Because it's hugely. You can also join here on YouTube now through YouTube memberships, which is great crack. I'm still working on kind of getting all of the features up and running, but I want to have like loads of really cool little emojis. I wonder, can I use them? I can use them. So at the moment, yeah, there we go. It's a little Napoleon one. I might design them better. I've got Napoleon, and I got a little Alexander Hamilton, and I got a little crazy Celt. Who did you call? Who did you call Ginger? I could probably design them a bit better. And then there's a little dude who's going, cheers. But yeah, I'll be honest, I did rush them. They are available at the moment, but I think I'll like sort them out properly. You can join now and get ahead and be an OG user in that way, but you know. So let's see. So Wyman can add me on Discord, please. So Discord. Very good. You've been making animated content. I like it. Good for you. Yeah, I do have. There is a Discord page as well. I think discord.com/John D. Ruddy at a guess. Let's see. Discord.com/John D. Ruddy. Does it work? Oh, no, that was hashtag John D. Ruddy. Typing today. Fun. apparently not. It's in or do you know what, I'll just Google it. I'm so scientific right now. I came prepared. John D. Ruddy Discord. Watch this, there's like I hate Discord. Does anybody watch John D. Ruddy? Oh my god. I'm like, hey guys, I love you. No, I can't see it, but I'll be honest, I barely use it, so there's that. As I said, there's that feature on Patreon, which I'm trying to use more now, which is basically like a private kind of patrons only Discord server, which is cool. But you know, if you do want to further interact, you can comment away on stuff on like Instagram and stuff. I post my daily history videos on Instagram and TikTok and Threads, and then as you've been seeing, I've kind of found a decent compromise, because I had been posting up the daily. I started out posting up the daily history videos here on this channel, but it kind of felt a bit spammy. You know, it just felt like daily history videos, and loads of people were like, "What is this?" And you know, like didn't like it and started unfollowing and stuff, unsubscribing. But I've been putting them up as posts here on YouTube. Now, they still are available on YouTube, just on another channel, but the other channel hasn't really gotten too many subscribers. Go subscribe, I'm enthusiastic. I may or may not at a later date start uploading them here again, but again, I don't want to spam you, and I am aware as well that some people have been like, what are these Pokemon videos, John? So, the Pokemon videos. Little update about the Pokemon videos. There's not one today because I've been doing a live stream today, so I have a week off them this week. The Pokemon videos are kind of on a bit of what's the word? Oh, what do you call them? What is that word that I'm looking for? When you get released from prison, probation. They're on a kind of a probationary period, where I'm gonna run till I get to maybe about 10 episodes. See how they do. See kind of how they do, kind of long run. Now, the most recent video has been doing a bit better, but it's like 400 views, which is not to be sniffed at. I do appreciate 400 views. But in comparison to the Israel-Palestine video, which we will also be chatting about, in comparison to that, which is like nearly 60,000 views at this stage, so it's this kind of balancing act of time versus how much time I put into something versus how much I get back from it, which sadly is the problem with all of this kind of stuff. However, I was thinking of possibly compromising, and I think it actually might suit this channel a little bit more, where still do drawing tutorials, and I mean at a later date, if the Pokemon videos take up, if more people are kind of watching them, they can you know bring it back. I can bring it back, but we shall see. Is that another super chat? Oh, we have another super chat. I will read it very shortly. I have it open here now. It's still up. What was I saying? Oh, my short-term memory is horrendous. Oh, you're all shouting at me now, going, John, that's what he was saying. Bah. See, so distractible. It's horrendous. Welcome to my life. This is... Oh, yeah. Drawing tutorials, potentially, with history stuff. Which, if you're interested, let me know in the chat here as well, because that'd be that would be a cool wee compromise, I think. And I could do. I don't think I would do like Maniman drawing tutorials, because I kind of think Maniman's he's a bit too simple to kind of do drawing tutorials, and also it looks slightly suggestive when you're drawing him from scratch. But the less out of that, the better. But yeah, no, like I definitely love to do like different like soldiers from different areas in history and different like historical buildings or vehicles and stuff like that. So I think that we could do that. Brandon has sent a very generous super chat. Thank you very much, Brandon. I liked your Israel and Palestine video. However, I wish that you included the fact that many Arab Jews were expelled from their countries. They had nowhere else to go but Israel. Okay, so out of all of the criticism that that video has gotten, that has been the biggest one, which I do wish that I elaborated more on. Because now in my defense, that's when I was at that stage of the video. I had been already working on it for like months and months, and you're like, well, John, it's your responsibility to, have your research done and I mean, yes, but this was one of the kind of weaker points of it. In an earlier draft, I did have it a bit explained a bit more of. I never use the term expulsion. There's certainly because this is the thing. It is so contentious, and particularly this is a moment in the narrative that not everybody agrees upon. Where were they expelled? Now, there certainly was a rise in anti-Semitism in the Arab world after the declaration of independence of Israel. Kind of because, Israel kind of stole a whole pile of land in the Nakba. And, they were calling for Jews from across the Arab world, partially because they realized that the demographics weren't entirely adding up, and they were like, oh, we actually need a lot more Jews than we realized. So there was a convincing of, hey, everybody in the Arab world, Jews in the Arab world, please come to us. And so with that, there was a rising mistrust with the Arab. Now, I am not an expert on this. I am not claiming to be an expert on this. This is based on what I can't even think specifically who had said this, but I've listened to countless podcasts and different people from various different backgrounds talking about this part of the story. But from what I gather, it's kind of a sliding scale of exodus to expulsion, where either way there was a rise in anti-Semitism, but I don't think it's I don't think it's unfair to say that anti-Semitism arose from that anti-Semitism arose from what's the word? Basically, Israel's actions, and I hate to say that, but there has been, and we've seen this at the moment where an anti-Semitic world outside of Israel suits Israel because they want all of the Jews to come to Israel. So it suits them down to the ground for the rest of the world to be anti-Semitic, and for them to go, see, everywhere else is anti-Semitic, so the only safe place for you is here. Which I don't agree with. I think is a terrible way of looking at the world. That is not to belittle the actual horrendous historical anti-Semitism, particularly from Europe. But this is the thing: European anti-Semitism was so much worse than anti-Semitism within the Arab world. Yes, and I do wish that I could have elaborated a little bit more of the history of Jewish people living within the Arab world over the centuries, but I didn't. Partially because classic white European dude. It takes a white European centric narrative on it. But that was kind of the point, in that Zionism is a essentially white European colonial project, as I said in the video, albeit of a Jewish variety. I still stand by that. Like, that's a big part of it. Thank you so much for that very kind super chat, Vlog. Your history videos are superb, John. I learned more about history in particular than I would have thought possible. Prior to this, I didn't know there are 3 Bloody Sundays. The one I was aware of, the one from 1972. Yeah, there you go. And that's only Irish history, because there's other Bloody Sundays. I think there was a Bloody Sunday in the 1905 revolution or rebellion. I suppose it is a revolution in Russia, where they forced the Tsar to give them a government. And I think there was a massacre there. I think that's also known as Bloody Sunday. And I think, was it at Selma, at the Edmund Pettus Bridge? I think one of the big attacks there, where the police beat the living crap out of protesters trying to get across the bridge, I think that also is called Bloody Sunday, I think. Or it could also be, there was like bloody every single day of the week during the Civil Rights Movement, but I think it was that. But yeah, in Irish history, I think there are also other Bloody Sundays. So I think there might be 5 within Irish history. I think there's others in the 19th century, which I don't know off the top of my head. But the ones that I do know are 1920, yeah, was it 20? Or 21? 20, yeah, 1920 in Croke Park, sadly. And then, yeah, in July 21 in Belfast, and 1972 in Derry. Tough history. Tough history. Now, let's see. Oh, yeah. Going back to William Howard Taft, who did not get stuck in a bathtub, by the way. Yeah, that's fair. That's one of those common misconceptions. Or not misconceptions, just commonly told stories. A bit like, what's the name, George Washington and the chopping down the tree. I cannot tell a lie. That was kind of one of those folk tales that ended up entering the lexicon. Speaking of that video, actually, I do have intentions of revisiting it, this being an election year. I think it's kind of become a bit of a 4-year anniversary now. So I am very much looking forward to doing that. I have a lot to say. Oh, I have a lot to go into it. It'll be, it'll be like the one from 4 years ago. It's insane that that's like 4 years ago now. Will be by the end of the year. Yeah, I want to pad it out a bit more, and not like pad it as in, fill it, but there are certain bits of the whole story that I do want to fill in some of the blanks. And I do, there's a couple of bits of Trump that I want to clarify. Also going to chat about Roe v. Wade, because that essentially that was something that I didn't even mention. And him loading the Supreme Court, I didn't even mention that in my last one, which I should have done. But I think a lot of us were kind of so naive that, we were just didn't even think about it. And sadly, it was kind of wishful thinking. But that is one of the largest kind of legacies of his so far. We shall see. And also have a lot to say about Joe Biden. You can take a guess what that is, given my previous video. I really wish I could donate, but I'm kind of poor broke high schooler. Don't worry, that's fine. I get it. I appreciate the sentiment, though. John doesn't use his Discord. Fair. Taft sounds like the type of guy who would make a chocolate taffy factory. I've kind of thought that too. I always think Taft taffy. It's a bit of a tongue twister. Phil said, "Hey John, Why are you pro-Palestinian, and why are you so much Irish pro-Palestinian? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just wondering. Okay, that's a fair question. Why am I so pro-Palestinian? So what's the best way to say this? I'm anti-colonialism, and now it's not to say at this stage of the game where everybody has to go home, and because like it is a complicated thing. It's a complicated topic. In a very very short answer, I think that Ireland and Palestine share certain elements of our history. So I think there's kind of a natural there's a natural solidarity there, namely, I mean, I mentioned it in the previous video, but basically how the Black and Tans and the auxiliaries were a whole pile of them after they were done terrorizing us in the Irish War of Independence, were shipped off to Palestine to do the exact same thing to the Palestinians. So given how how much we kind of when you mention the Black and Tans in Ireland, we're just like and it's like, if that's how we feel, it's like it begins to bring you into the space of how Palestinians may be beginning to feel, just that. I suppose just our long history, and again, your man Storrs said it in 1920, where it's like, oh, we're going to make a loyal little Ulster in a sea of Arab hostility, or whatever it was he said. But like, just having seen the effects and the act of entire families moving over, and this is the thing too, is because some people kind of call me up on this, kind of saying, so are you against immigration? Are you against immigration, of people moving from country to country? No, that's what people do. People move from country to country. Like, we migrate. We have been a migratory species in a lot of different ways. We go across the world. Like, my wife is Canadian, so like, we move around, but the difference is when we put other people off their land to do it. And some would argue, oh well, a lot of that land in early Zionism was bought. I mean, one could argue the same within Ireland, where you had all of the people working on the land that had been in their family, not in their families and they owned it, but people had been working land in Ireland for generations in the 19th century, yet it wasn't owned by them. And so you'd landlords who had sometimes little or no connection to the land at all. They owned it, and it was being sold on wherever. Or occasionally, in the case of where is now Glenveigh National Park here in Donegal, the landlord decided, you know what, I don't want anybody on my land whatsoever anymore. I don't want any of these pesky Irish. And he kicked them all off. This was in the I want to say either 1870s or 1880s. But it was like they'd made it all the way through the famine. Only then for John George Adair to go, actually, no, you're not allowed to live here. Go. And so I think I have a kind of a visceral reaction to the act of people being forced off their land for the sake of another group who have a lot more guns, and it's not in defense of any of the horrendous things that have been done to settlers, because the Irish did terrible things to the Ulster planters. Like in 1641, there was a horrendous massacre where a lot of the Irish Catholics rose up and killed a lot of the Protestant planters. Most infamously in Portadown, where people were like forced into a river at gunpoint, and this is like in the middle of November, and like they're stripped down. It was horrible, you know, and that is still very much remembered by many Ulster Protestants to this day, as you know, as a dark part of that story. But interestingly, and I did do that, and I shared this. It was not long after the tweets of the decapitated miniature people, I'll put it that way, at the start of this particular part of the conflict in Gaza, where basically it was saying, oh, the heads of 30 little were found, and like literally Joe Biden was like, oh yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu literally showed me, and yeah, it's terrible. As soon as I saw that, I was like, they're gearing up for a massive massacre, because similar things were shown after the 1641 massacre, where loads of Catholics Irish did rise up and did that thing in Portadown, and they killed a lot of other people. But there were a whole pile of illustrations that got published in England all then throughout the 1640s, and some had like miniature people on pitchforks, and like people being, you know, on pitchforks. How much of that was true, or how much of that was exaggeration, is absolutely up for debate. You know, nobody was, or well, people were there, but like, you know, there's no way of proving either way. However, it has often been seen that before a big Isle massacre, a big clearing of you know, ethnic cleansing, there comes a dehumanization. There comes a, well, look at how terrible they are. Look at how horrendous they are. And throughout the 1640s, the English were being shown just how barbaric the Irish were. So come 1649, when Oliver Cromwell has taken over England and he's settled things, he's executed the King of England, he now sets his sight on Ireland and is like, am I gonna do an ethnic cleanse of Ireland, actually? So like alarm bells went off in my mind when I saw that tweet of the, because who does that? Like, who does that? Like with the thing about the 30 heads, you know, like, what human does that in that kind of a way? And yes, it is possible, and yes, it is absolutely. But I just find all of this dehumanization so frustrating and so telling, and so where it's just so blatantly obvious that to so many people, Palestinian lives are just not worth anything. You know, and that's the, like when the aid workers were killed, and it's like, oh, whoa, yeah, aid workers were killed. It's like, and there were already 30,000 Palestinians dead, and it's like, are we getting upset by the aid workers? Which is a tragedy. One death is a tragedy. One death is a tragedy. And yet all of this is just insanity. And so, yeah. Anyway, we'll probably come back to that, but I'll have a look through the chat here. But thank you so much, Phil, for asking that, because that's a fair question. So I hope that does answer your question. I don't like people being driven off their land, and it's the gaslighting afterwards. It's the, oh, well, this was just empty land. Oh, but there was no one here. but just was like, I mean, like North America is just that same thing. As it was all just here. Like, the whole thing of this all of this land. It almost seemed cultivated. It's like, that's because it was cultivated. That's because, and this wasn't as actively, I think, but basically, how they reckon about 10 million Native Americans were killed long before white people actually got to them, because of the diseases that they initially brought over, just ripped across North America. And so when white settlers were ultimately kind of exploring across and go, all of this land, it's almost as if there were already people living here. It's like, there were, And yeah, fair enough. A lot of that disease wasn't actively spread. There are smallpox blankets, which was a later thing, and that was actively done. But, it's just that disregard. It is that disregard. They don't deserve the land. I mean, we could just do so much more with it. We could just do so much better with it. That mentality just frustrates me to no end. So, yeah. Stephen Quinn, do you like the Beatles? I love the Beatles. I don't know if you can see this, actually. Let's have a look. Take a wee minute for my camera to catch up, but I'll see if it's pointing in the right place. A bit further up. A bit further. Oh, no, a bit further up. Let's see. Check out my posters. Yes, there's George W. Bush in there. That was one of my old posters of Bushisms, of all his wonderful quotes. Now you can see. There we go. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band up there. I love the Beatles. Beatles are just... I've been introducing my little 1-year-old to a whole pile of Beatles. A lot of the chill stuff. And it's funny, actually, because some songs that I didn't actually listen to as much myself. But one of my favorites now is Till There Was You. And it's like really sweet because it now reminds me of him. Which is... Because I never really knew that song all too well. So it's nice because it's like, I didn't know that song till there was you. And it reminds me of little Hugo. And I love that. So yeah, I love the Beatles. Beatles are great. Lindsay Ellis has a fantastic video about the assassination of John Lennon and the horrendous mistreatment of Yoko Ono and who really broke up the Beatles. Spoilers, it wasn't Yoko. So I highly recommend. I think it's on Nebula, and it's also available for her Patreon supporters. It's so good. It's such a fantastic, because like always, she just makes it even more relevant and makes you think about things in from a different angle and makes it relevant and compares then the likes of Courtney Love and Kurt Cobain and even then Meghan Markle and Prince Harry and all that. Oh, it's class. It's so good. It's really, really good. Sorry. So we're gonna review the comments. Sure. You're like, dude, you're like 48 minutes into this live stream now. You're gonna review the comments? I will. No, I haven't like flagged any specifically. I'm just gonna have a wee nosy through them and see what's there. I might even actually go, or no, I'll just scroll through and see. I just have them on my phone here. While I go to that, John D. Ruddy's off Twitter now. Yeah, I like it's still there. But I do. But I don't really post there much. I just really didn't like. As soon as Elon Musk took over, I just found a whole pile of anti-trans stuff being like thrown at me. I was like, I do not follow these people. I have zero interest in this. Stop trying to make transphobia happen, please, because it just felt so poisonous. very quickly and that's saying a lot for Twitter, you know, like that's the one thing I've actually been impressed with Elon Musk about, is that he has, everybody thought that Twitter couldn't get any worse. Oh, he was a lot worse. Let's see. It's so strange. John D, do you remember what the Troubles were like in the 1960s till now in Ireland? I don't, because I am not that old, thanks. Thanks for assuming that. No, I was born in 89, so I only caught the tail end. I have vague memories growing up of, like, my memories of the Troubles would be, oh no, we're not going into Derry today because there's a bomb scare. Oh, okay, that's normal. Or I do remember, like, the army checkpoints along the border, you know, and literally British armed soldiers bringing in, going, you know, where are you coming from, where are you going to? We're going in to get the Christmas shopping in Derry, you know. And what do you call it? The major thing, like seeing like a lot of the bombs going off in England in the early mid 90s as well, you know. But the Omagh bombing was the big one for me in 1998, where a whole pile of civilians were blown up by the IRA, and it was horrendous. That's just a wee thing as well, that, you know, when people kind of listen to me going on about like Palestine and stuff, it's like, I do not support Hamas. Like, don't. That's not. Like, you can support Palestine, and you can also even understand and recognize where Hamas is coming from without actually supporting it. In the exact same way as I hate what the IRA did, the horrendous atrocities that they committed. I understand where it came from, and I understand where, you know, they came from in relation to the British occupation of Northern Ireland. I get it, you know. I don't support it, you know, and I hate that it was done indirectly, like in my name, and you know, in the way of the Irish people. It's like, that sort of violence does not represent. The phone's going. Colonel, you know, we recognize the Metal Gear Solid, but okay, it's also my ringtone. But yeah, so I don't remember it. Although, like, my parents, but even more so than my grandparents, would have had a lot of. Well, actually, yeah. My parents' kind of generation, you know, they would have been younger growing up in it, and they have a lot more stories. Like, I know my grandfather, his car was literally robbed by the IRA. Him and my granny were in Derry, and they were just about to go home, and a guy shows up, holds a gun to his head. It's like, we're taking this car, and he's like, okay, right, well, I guess we're getting the bus home, you know. Like, it's madness. So Hitchhiker's Pie, I am getting to the comments. It's so strange learning about the Troubles as an Englishman. I grew up post Good Friday Agreement with Irish family in the South, and finding out there was ever conflict seems so alien to the world. I know, yeah, no, that's true. Like, that was another point that I made in my Palestine video, is that as much as we do like to kind of compare what happened in the north versus what's happening now, it's like the death tolls and the scale of everything is just on a completely different scale. You know, 3,500 people altogether, 3,500 people altogether, give or take, were killed during the Troubles, and, you know, they hit that 10 days into what's going on now in Gaza. So, oh, Canada, our home on native land. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, our home on native land. Yes. I think he said the line through, though one death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic. Oh, I didn't say that, but yeah, that's a powerful line. McGraw, at least in Canada, reconciliation has really come to the forefront. We're taught extensively about colonialism in residential schools. That is true. It's not perfect, but I think Canada certainly has a better relationship with its past than, say, the United States does, where the United States tends to be like, okay, let's just get on with it. where Canada is like, okay, first of all, let's just acknowledge we are here on stolen land, or what, whatever way they put it. And I mean, I get it, because it's like, what's everybody to do? Go home? Like, that's not the solution at this stage of the game either. In the exact same way as, like, people are in Northern Ireland, they're like, oh, well, if you think you're British, then why don't you go back to Britain? It's like, dude, been living here for generations, 400 years, like, it is what it is. Let's all just concentrate on getting along together, because at the end of the day, we're all people trying to live our lives. Let's just not get in each other's way, but like, let's actually work together, because we all can work together. And also, we need to work together because the world is burning. So there's that. Climate change. Yeah, that's true. It may be overlooked globally, but likely because American media is so widespread. Yeah. Nice. I sent the video to my dad. Hopefully he watches. Fingers crossed. The musical that's from is such a classic. Oh, which one? I don't know. Have you? Right. Oh, there. Have you thought of doing an in-depth video about the Suez crisis? Yeah, definitely. Having done a bit more detail on it in, having done a bit more detail on it in the Israel-Palestine video, I think it'd be an interesting one. I love just that moment, and I think the couple of episodes of The Crown did it very well, where just that moment where Britain and France kind of realize they're not the big players anymore, or America just kind of steps in. That was another detail in my Israel-Palestine video, which I was a wee bit too kind of eager to bring the point across. But I did miss. I kind of implied that America were basically supplying weapons from the 1940s. That wasn't the case. That would come later in the 1960s. And because there was actually a weapons embargo. That's not to say that they didn't manage to get their hands on American weapons tech, but it just wasn't as directly supported. Although it was kind of quiet, it was quietly supported, but it wasn't like properly officially getting full on behind them until the 1960s. So fair. And in fairness, I actually went in and just edited out that little sentence because it was a wee bit more misleading, which is frustrating because, I wish I had put that one better. Immigration help the economy. Yeah, immigration always helps the economy when they're allowed to work and, when they're allowed to take part. And money is made to go round, not sit in the bank accounts of billionaires. Let's see. Go, if you haven't already, I highly recommend Gary Stevenson, Gary's Economics. That guy explains exactly why the world is the way it is right now. From a trader, he's basically he's been like a Wall Street trader, not Wall Street, but like he's a stock exchange trader. But he's like from borderland Essex, working class upbringing, so he has a foot in both camps where he sees how the super rich are on another planet, and he's like, they have no idea how the poor live, and because of that they're making huge misjudgments. I'm not going to go too much into it here. Go check it out. Gary Stevenson, he's so good at what he does. And so I wish there was a way to integrate my Nebula and YouTube vids. I love the stuff on Nebula, but I don't spend as much time on there. Yeah, I know that's true. I love Nebula as well. Yeah, sadly that's kind of the nature of the internet, where there's now 5 websites, and that's another huge problem. It's a sad day where, basically the internet is Google and Twitter and Facebook, and that's about it. It's mad. And if it's not on there, then it's That's not to disparage Nebula. I love Nebula. It's great. But it's up against all those big hitters. You can see he's on X. Ha ha ha! Frugal Jimmy. I like that. You could say he is an ex-Twitter user. Ha ha ha. Very good. I recommend boldly employing the block and mute terms if you're still on Twitter. It's not worth the effort. I'm going to be honest, if I had a bigger following and if I had more of kind of an active kind of interaction thing on Twitter, I would care more about jumping ship from it. But the fact of the matter is I never had a massive following on it, so it wasn't a huge loss. So it's not like I've taken this grand sacrifice to like leave Twitter and just like, okay, here's my excuse to not go on. Thank you very much. So there you go. And hey John, would you ever consider making videos about individual historical figures from their birth until their death, e.g. Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln? I have definitely considered that, and probably we'll see how my time allows me. Have you thought about bringing back the 10 More Facts series? No, I didn't quite like the format. I just thought it was a bit sparse, and it kind of felt like it was, you know, the fact that I ended up like intercutting those facts into my other videos at a later date. It kind of felt, I don't know. I'm not saying never, but there are, I think there's better uses of my time. Solid Snake jump scare, yeah, so true. I nearly had that as my text alert, but I was like, no, that's too stressful. From US, 100% true. I read stories in Ireland, olden times. Okay, all right. I'll come back to those, but I'm gonna read a couple of comments. So let's see. Now I haven't like vetted any of these, but I am gonna have a wee nosy through them. Now I did talk a big one earlier about the whole Arab the what's the word, criticism that Jews were driven from Arab countries in the 1950s to Israel, as opposed to were convinced by Israel. So that's a common thread. So any of those ones, unless they have kind of something very specifically new or interesting to chat about, I'll probably skim over those. One other thing, and I did mention it briefly in the video, which is something that I do get frustrated with, is that it's just that disingenuousness where, like, many have reckoned that, like, the European Jews did not really care about the Arab Jews until they needed them. Many have suggested this, that they didn't, you know, they were like, they're Arab, can we trust them? You know, Jews sitting there, oh, can we trust them? It's like, lads, come on, you have been getting this your whole entire existence in Europe, and now you're sitting there going, ooh, can we trust them because they're Arab? But because they could not be trusted as Arabs, as far as they saw, they took Arab Jews and put them right on the borders so that they would absorb the brunt of the animosity from the Arab Palestinians, who, you know, who were sitting there on the other side of the fence going, that's my house you're living in, thank you very much. We still have the keys. So they were kind of actively there, you know, trying to pit them against each other so that the Arab Jews would be like, all right, well, they don't like us anymore, so we're gonna be Israeli. And also they changed their names to more Hebrew names, which I just, like, that's a tragedy in itself. The, like, having to change your name, you know, just this break with who you are, with your own culture, you know, and they're like, oh, Arab culture wasn't, you know, Jewish culture. It's like, it, it was like, they're not monocultures. You know, culture is at its best when it is all sorts of intermingled. Like, you know, I get all sorts of chats about, you know, cultural appropriation and this stuff. And, like, I mean, I'm sitting here wearing this class Mexican hoodie. I love this hoodie. I've a whole pile of these. I was out there wearing a poncho the last day. Not that that's like much, that's not a political statement or anything. But, like, one example that I often think of, you know, because often when people talk about cultural appropriation, they think of it in, like, a very negative way. Like, you know, white people adopting black hairstyles, like dreadlocks or, you know, weaves or whatever, and are like not appreciating that black people are still discriminated against about those hairdos, and yet when white people do it, it's not as much of a thing. So when they get grief from black people going, why are you wearing your hair like that? You know, like, there's all that. But as, once again, going back to Lindsay Ellis, as Lindsay Ellis puts it, it's a neutral term. You know, what's the word? Cultural appropriation is a neutral term. And a great example of this I often look to is Legend of Zelda. One of my favorite video game series borrows heavily from Irish myths and legends, you know, and imagery. Like Faye in Skyward Sword is like straight up dressed like an Irish dancer, and like all of just the whole idea of like fairies and you know, little dudes in green in the forest, like all of that stuff, like it draws so much from Irish culture. The music of Wind Waker, the opening tune, is literally played on bagpipes and the harp and the fiddle. It's like, you know, and I don't think, you know, there was much of a thing of, oh, what are the Irish going to think about this? Like, but it's also like, who cares? It's great. You know, it's wonderful. It's cool just seeing, you know, Ireland interpreted through this entirely different Japanese prism, as opposed to, you know, which kind of has a strong disconnect, sort of in the flip side to that, where say you've got like the likes of Avatar, The Last Airbender, where it's all of this Asian culture that's kind of interpreted through like a whole North American sensibility, which you know, is a whole other thing. But I mean, once again though, Last Airbender is friggin' brilliant. So anyway, I still haven't read any of these comments. Sorry. Blah, 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 blah. So let's see. History is complex, but not complicated. I remember always believing this conflict was too complicated with a both-sidism, putting them on equal footing. But a month after it started, seeing how blatant the IDF was with what they were doing, seeing people defend it, again, using the war is complicated, it was infuriating. What Hamas did was wrong, but this was an industrial scale slaughter. The language, the way the soldiers acted, I could see why even Holocaust survivors were horrified. Anyone who wants to help, one of the best groups working is Care for Gaza. They help get flour to Gaza. That's from History Monarch 1999. Thank you very much for that. That is what it is. And I didn't go straight for a more kind of favorable comment. I just picked one at random. Let's see. I'd give this history a mostly accurate but cherry-picked. For example, Liberia was built by former slaves who wanted to leave the US and America's. One of the concept's founders being Frederick Douglass. I'm going to be honest, I don't know that off the top of my head, so I don't know whether or not I can. Do you know what? Let's Google Liberia. Its actual founding, I did not go into 100%. In the early century as a project of American colonialization society, which believed black people would face better chances for freedom and prosperity in Africa and in the United States. This is just Wikipedia. Between 1822 and the outbreak of the American Civil War, more than 15,000 freed and freeborn Along with Afro-Caribbeans relocated to Liberia, gradually developing the Americo-Liberian identity. The settlers carried their culture and tradition with them. Liberia declared independence in 1847, which the US did not recognize until February 1862. Huh. So there's that. Let's have a wee quick look. So the American Colonization Society, initially the Society for the Colonization of Free People of Color of America, was an American organization founded in 1816 by Robert Finley, who was an American Presbyterian clergyman, an educator who is known as one of the founders, to encourage and support the repatriation of freeborn people of color and emancipated slaves to the continent of Africa. It was modeled on an earlier British colonization in Africa, which had sought to resettle London's black poor. Well, there you go. I mean, there's a lot in that. There's a lot in that. We don't want them here. Let's send them back to Africa. Basically, I mean, I tend to see, from a very cynical perspective, the whole idea of let's just send them back to Africa. Like that's what it looks like, and that's even by just now. That's a glimpse. I did not go all the way into it there, but at a glance, it has a very strong sense of let's send them back to Africa. So, so I'm not sure on. Just out of curiosity, I'm just gonna do a search for Frederick Douglass just to see what he had to say on all of this. Find Frederick. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. From the beginning, the majority of black Americans regarded the society with enormous disdain. A fixed hatred. Black activist James Fortin immediately rejected the ACS, writing in 1817 that we have no wish to separate from our present homes for any purpose whatever. As soon as they heard about it, 3,000 black protesters packed a church in Philadelphia, the bellwether city for free blacks, and bitterly unanimously denounced it. They published a protest pamphlet. Now, after the Colonization Society has been formed without the consent of the coloured people, after the enterprise has been violently pushed against their reiterated protests for 17 years, after its friends acknowledged that coercion has been used in getting away its victims, and so long as they would persuade us that this is not the native country of coloured Americans and that we ought not to let them remain here, what is it better than gross mockery to talk about consent? Frederick Douglass condemned colonization. Shame upon the guilty wretches that dare propose that all that countenance such a proposition. We live here, have lived here, have a right to live here, and mean to live here. I mean, yes, Americans, and one of the concept's founders being Frederick Douglass. Not by the signs of that. Quote, this is what I'm talking about. Like, just this, throwing a fact out there. Fact. And just going, oh, well, this is why you're wrong. Poof. And it's like, most people, and like, I didn't actually go and check, like, I'd read that earlier, I was like, oh, Frederick Douglass, I need to go check that out. But, hashtag, do your own research. But sometimes it's just a couple of clicks away where you can actually go and see what some of these people actually had to say about it. It seemed like Frederick Douglass didn't quite like that idea, funnily enough. Let's see, or at 27, where instead of saying that the Arab states ethnically cleansed the Jews living there, he states that Israel convinced them to move. I've already said about that. Well, Israel did support immigration from these areas. This is someone else. It should have also emphasized that many were pressured by the ruling population and government to leave either by economic pressure or violence. Yeah, that's a fair compromise. That comment. And then the original poster. This is enjoying and The problem is that the campaign of ethnic cleansing by those Arab states, which now have almost single-digit Jewish populations, was entirely omitted. He only mentions the part that doesn't make the Arab cause look bad, and that isn't the only time he does that in the video either. A fair criticism with regards, there were parts of the video where I held back on how bad and extreme the terrorism had been, particularly say in the 2000s with a lot of like the suicide bombings and stuff, which fair. I think given the context of the video, this was the other thing though, that I was also very easy on Zionism. You know, there was a lot more that I could have said about both sides. Oh, both sides. But like, I mean, there's a lot more that I could have said about Zionism. Namely, you know, like just everyday mocking of children and shooting at children and terrorizing people, and just the IDF, just like there's so many videos out there of them like just full on bully. They're just these bullies who are just going up and laughing at these young Palestinian lads and just looking for any excuse to go and arrest them, or, you know, if they're bored, shoot them. Like, and like all of these clips and videos of IDF soldiers like mockingly it's just infuriating, where they're like, oh well, we're the most moral army in the world. It's like it just feels like pure and utter projection and pure and utter deflection. Like, and they don't care. They don't care what the rest of the world thinks. They laugh when the rest of the world is like, this is horrendous, and they're like, what are you going to do? Like, that's what Israel's been doing, you know, and that's what Israel has been doing for decades. They're like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You know, I'm just going to do this. What are you going to do about it? You know, you can't do anything about it. So, what are you going to do? I'm just going to go and do it. Oh, you tell me to do this other thing? I'm just going to do this anyway. What are you going to do? You going to invade me? What are you going to do? America's got my back. What are you going to do? What are you actually going to do? You're not going to do anything, are you? Like, that's it in a nutshell. It's just this blatant disregard and this smirk. Like, it just feels like the whole thing's been done with a smirk, you know? And it's disturbing. And then when anybody calls out anything on it, it's like they're being anti-Semitic. And that was kind of my whole point in my video about laying out the very long preamble of European anti-Semitism. Was, you know, for want of a better term, kind of going, oh no, I acknowledge, excuse me, I acknowledge the horrendousness of anti-Semitism. It is real, it is deeply rooted, and it is horrendous. And it is part of all of our history. Like, this is something too that, I mean, you know, and I do get, you know, people's ownership of like kind of certain histories, but at the same time, I think there is something, you know, and who am I to say this, but like, this is the way that I look at it. It's like, our history is our history as humanity, you know, and like, it's all a shared history in that way. And so like, when you get some people who are, well, no, you're not allowed to talk about the Holocaust. You're not allowed to compare things to the Holocaust. You know, only Jewish people are allowed to do that. And they're like the Holocaust happened to humanity. On both sides of it, humanity caused it. Humanity committed it. You know, and it also suffered from it. And we are still feeling the waves of the aftershocks of that horror, and we're still trying to work out how that happened, while people looked on and were like, I don't know, is it all as bad as what they're saying? Like, you know. And then you get ones who are like, oh, well, where's the gas chambers? It's not the same thing. And that's what's going on in Palestine. We don't have gas chambers. I was like, sure. You know, like if you want a one-to-one comparison, you're not going to get it. But as Mark, the quote that I always go back to is Mark Twain said, history doesn't always repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So there's that. Let's do another wee. Let's see. Okay, so I got one here. So this was about me saying how the Nuremberg laws were based on Jim Crow. And yeah, they were based on the Turkish laws used to create the Armenian genocide, not on the Jim Crow laws, though Hitler's eugenics movement was based on the American progressive movement eugenics concept. Progressive and eugenics in the same sentence. With leaders like Margaret Sanger, founder of Planned Parenthood and one of the American pioneers of sterilization based on race and disability. I don't know that off the top of my head. I mean, if you look at, I'm sure there's an element of truth to that. I'm sure the Jim Crow laws weren't the only laws that the Nazis looked upon when they were like, you know, let's look for a framework for legal segregation and discrimination, you know. So like, where else did it? Oh, America did it. Oh, Turkey did it, you know. So I'm sure it wasn't the only place. So I'm sure there's an element of truth to that. If you want to find out more, go look it up. But yeah, like at least you acknowledge, yes, that they based a lot of their eugenics work on America. So, let's see. Okay, here we go. It's amazing that in a video claiming to give the whole story, I feel a narrative is being spun with things omitted. Every single thing of history is some form of narrative. Like, the only way to fully experience history is to live it through the eyes of every single person that's ever existed. You know, that's the point of history, is to try and make sense of it. And by trying to make sense of it, you create a narrative, a story to tell. That's what history is. History. You know, it's Historia. But like this whole thing of obviously, yeah, you know, you can be like very biased. I expect my audience to catch on, like you do, where it's like, you know, oh, he's clearly biased here. It's like, yes, well spotted. I trusted you to pick that up. And that's the thing. Everybody has biases. And it's when people are claiming that they're not biased, when they're just, you know, kind of, you know, this is as unbiased. It's like, there's always a bias in some regard. As I said earlier, mine's very Eurocentric because, you know, it's in here. But yeah, let's see. I'm already seeing many comments claiming and detailing some misleading things about how the 20th century of Arab-Israeli relations was framed in this video specifically. This truly is the worst time to learn about this conflict when everyone has already backed a horse. No offense, and with all due respect. Thank you very much. I appreciate that at the end. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the worst time to learn about a conflict. It's kind of good to understand what's going on right now, you know, rather than, you know, no, don't learn about it. Just let it happen first. Just let it happen first. And then the worst of the worst of the worst happens, and then go, right, what just happened? You know? So there's that. Let's see. So you skip the entire part from essentially 1928 to 1962, where Israel, though created under the same borders that freed the Arabian Peninsula from the Ottoman Empire rule and created the borders for the whole region, were invaded by the same countries created by Britain, and never mentioned that Israel was invaded by its neighbours for the explicit purpose of claiming territory through war, despite it being against the UN's rules created by Woodrow Wilson that no countries should now claim land through war, and Israel not being supported in the war by England or America in any way, no weapons, no troops. I mean, as far as my understanding goes, most of those countries that invaded in 1948 were basically in defense of Palestine, you know, in the way of, or what, you know, what would one would hope would have become Palestine. In that way, a Palestinian state. Like, Israel were already going above and beyond. They were already kicking people off their land before 1947. So, like, and the Arab states were seeing this. And when Israel declared its independence, you know, there was an invasion from the outside, but there was a huge land grab from within as well, from Israel. And we see that. Like, there's no denying that in the Nakba, you know? So, like, I mean, obviously, you know, these are oversimplifications in itself as well, and wars are never that simple. But, you know, I'm just going to have a wee look through at some of the comments here, because I haven't been looking on here in a while. Hey, John, would you ever consider making videos about... oh, no, wait. We already had that. I read stories in Ireland in the olden time. Yeah, I heard that also The War Is Over from John Lennon is now an animated short film that won an award for Best Animated Short Film. Oh, is that what that was? I love that song. From John Lennon and Yoko Ono. She sings like half of the song, you know. It's a John and Yoko song. Also, same with Imagine. She wrote that too. Just saying. Love to Yoko. I mean, in fairness, when I was younger, I was totally guilty of Yoko jokes. Like, there was literally a guy who was like, I was in a band, and one of my best friends, he had a friend from college who was like coming and giving all this advice and stuff, and I was just like, ugh, Yoko. I can't even remember his real name. I just remember him as Yoko. So which musical? The Music Man. A rail riding comment falls for the local librarian. I've never actually seen The Music Man. But all I know is the monorail, that whole episode of The Simpsons. Lots of Czech stuff from the formerly occupied factories. Yeah. Yes, that's right. The weapons that Israel managed to get their hands on. Hey guys, what did I miss? Loads. Nothing much. Not much. Just discussions about stuff. Oh, thanks. Thanks for your pastime video. So Cadian1409, thank you so much for your videos. Your video on Israel-Palestine was incredibly informative, and I hope you don't give this up. I hope I don't either. Thank you very much. I love making these, and also I get to learn loads as well. Like, that's part of why I love making these, is like in my research I get to learn so much more as well, which is we should all be on that journey. You know, we never stop learning, and we should never stop learning. Have you ever heard of Coronation Street or Emmerdale Farm? Absolutely. Hello. There are Emmerdale. I was never an Emmerdale fan, but Coronation Street, absolutely. Now, I haven't watched it properly in decades, but like when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, Coronation Street. There are some lines that live rent free in my brain, like what's his name? What do you call him? Ken Barlow going into Mike Baldwin. I've had enough of your poison in my family. Poof. What's his name? The guy the murderer who was with Gail. Was he Nasty Nick? I think he was Nasty Nick. Or Nigel or something like that. I won't lie to you, Gail. I'll always remember that when it was revealed that he was a murderer. By the way, for anyone's like, what are you talking about, John? It's one of the longest running soap operas in the world. It's an English soap opera based up outside of Manchester. And it's classic. It's brilliant. I still remember the episode of the Battersby, whatever the Battersby's, when they first arrived on the street. I specifically remember when that happened. But yeah, Corrie, classic. Also, I didn't do any of it. Good old Deirdre Barlow. But yeah, did she get married to him at some point? Yeah. Interestingly enough, actually, the guy who played the judge who sent down Deirdre Barlow to jail was played by an actor called Nick Dunning, and I've since actually acted with Nick Dunning in a radio play. That was like 10 years ago now, but still, it's funny. When I met him, I was like, you're the guy. He also played Anne Boleyn's father in The Tudors. Hi, Nick, because you totally watch these live streams. Let's see. I'm going to skim a couple of these, but let's see. There were public celebrations in Palestine during 9/11. Videos of the celebrations have been used for anti-Palestinian propaganda. It is important to act respectful to other people or it can hurt. Absolutely. Now, I do not know what truth or not there is behind that. I do not condone it, but one can understand the catharsis of seeing a god bleed, the untouchable America. Again, I wouldn't celebrate it, but I know. It can hurt your reputation. It's from Bonesaw McGraw. Love it. And I should read this whole thing in Bonesaw. There were public celebrations in Palestine during 9/11. I really shouldn't do that. It only takes a few bad apples to create a negative image of millions of people. That's very true too. And that's the thing that we do need to be careful of, in kind of where people are saying, you're being anti-Semitic, you're like, and I have not heard directly in any clips that I've heard shared of actual people shouting death to Israel or, glory to Hamas or any of that. The only people who I've actually heard that are certain Zionist campaigners who are like, I've heard them shout death to Israel. I've heard them shout, glory to Hamas. I mean, if the videos are out there, please send them to me on Instagram. I would, excuse me, that's the 7-Up. I'd be very interested to see them, but there is that. The idea of sending black people to Liberia was one of the many ideas that kicked around in America against slavery. It was essentially, we don't like slavery, but we don't want them here either. Exactly. And that's... And once again, like the parallels between Liberia and Israel are sadly very, this whole idea of, they should go there. Yeah, we don't want them here. Yeah, off you go. Get out of here. In the exact same way as your, non-Jewish Europeans were like, this is perfect. Yeah, off you go. You don't have to live here anymore. You know? It was anti-slavery, but also not exactly pro-equality either. American politics in the 1800s was weird. American politics in any friggin' century is weird. Okay, but inappropriate behavior of the IDF and Israeli security forces has nothing to do with Zionism. Inappropriate behavior of the IDF and Israeli security forces has nothing to do with Zionism. The IDF and Israeli security forces enforce Zionism. They are the body that enacts Zionism. Like, I can't put that much plainer than that. They are literally the body on the front lines that are there to push people off their lands in the name of self-defense. But, like, they are Zionism embodied. They are the embodiment of Zionism. And that has nothing to do with Zionism. Dry your eyes. My God. Anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. Exactly. Now, this is also the very delicate balance, because there are plenty anti-Semites out there who are loving all this because they're able to, you know, sneak in and kind of start getting people, oh, maybe we should, you know, oh, maybe the Israelis have too much political power. Maybe, yeah, the Jews have too much political power, you know, and start wedging in their anti-Semitism into anti-Israeli, and, you know, people who aren't attuned to all of the anti-Semitic tricks can sadly fall for it. So we need to be very careful that we don't accidentally or otherwise do an anti-Semitism, because anti-Semitism is horrendous. You know, like a very common one that I've seen, and this is like long before this, but like there's a very common one of it's like loads of people kind of curled down on a Monopoly board, and there's all these guys up on top who are like playing Monopoly, and the whole thing is, if we all just stood up, then it would then, you know, the game would be over, you know, and you know, we could flip the board or whatever it is. And I love the sentiment of that, but sadly, in the illustration, those who are playing Monopoly are all of these like really deeply anti-Semitic stereotypes, like, you know, the big hook noses and curly hair and all that, and claws and all that kind of stuff, and is like, no. Like, I get the sentiment, and I agree with the sentiment of, yes, we should all rise up and collectively fight against the powers that are doing this, but the powers that are doing this are not all Jewish. You know, like, yes, there are some rich and wealthy, powerful Jews who are screwing people over, but it has nothing to do with their Jewishness. It has nothing to do with them being Jewish, and they are not the only people who are doing it. There are non-Jewish billionaires who are screwing us over. Like, the billionaires. Like, why do we keep falling for this? Why do we keep falling for this? You know, like, I literally have an animation with, like, the King of England in the 1200s is like, it's the Jews. When people start looking at him, he's like, it's the Jews. And they're like, oh, it's the Jews. Like, it's the same thing, different century. It's so frustrating. It's like, are we destined to fall for the same rubbish? Let's see. For NATO, Israel is like having an abused 5-foot-tall bully for a friend who bullies people knowing that their 6'4" friend has their back. I agree. Sadly. I have had that thought myself, where, or, you know, is that friend who you've brought to a party, and they show up and they just starting fights with everyone else, and everyone else is sitting there going, who brought this guy, you know? And you're just sitting there partially going, oh God, but also like they're I don't even know. But yeah, I get it. I get it. It's pretty terrifying what horrors humanity is capable of, and it's even more terrifying how many people refuse to believe that these horrors do happen. Absolutely, and to add, are happening right now. Thank you, T-Man, for that. That's solid. Yeah, I can't express how much I agree with you on Israel and Palestine. Bernie Sanders has made a number of excellent speeches effectively pointing out Netanyahu's silly name-calling as it is. Yeah, I think Bernie Sanders overall has been good. Now, I know he did have a very long period there, and I don't think he still has come out and called it genocide. But I'm going to be very honest, I kind of understand why he has been so hesitant to do that, given his history of, like, he grew up with people who literally lived through the Holocaust. You know, like he's Jewish originally himself, but like, you know, he like there were Holocaust survivors in his neighborhood growing up with, and you know, even from a more cynical perspective, there's probably an element of a lot of, you know, people who in my of a lot of people in my you know, a lot of voters who may have a problem with me full on calling this a genocide. I get that to a point, but to be honest, I think he has been saying a lot more than a lot of people. I do wish that he would full on just go, lad, let's call a spade a spade. It's a genocide. It's ethnic cleansing. Like they've like the apparent goal in this is to wipe out the Gazans. So, you know, and they're like, no, but it's to wipe out Hamas. It's like, yeah, but you've literally said that all of Palestinians living in Gaza are Hamas, so you're gonna wipe them all out? Like, yeah. The victors write the history, best to do it now. Well, that's it. It will be interesting to see how this all is documented, but a very important thing to remember is that we all bear witness to what is happening right now, and there is clips here all about it. Like, people talk about the Holocaust and they're like, did Germans actually know about it? And it's like, yes, they did. Many people just chose to ignore it, chose to, they're like, it can't be all that bad. Do you know what? I'm just not going to think about it because it's all a bit disturbing and I don't like to think about it, so I'm just not going to think about it. Doesn't stop it from happening. Just because you stop thinking about it doesn't mean it stops happening. I watched the Zone of Interest. I saw it. They did a screening of it here on a big screen here in Letterkenny in the Regional Cultural Centre. And hi, Paul. And they did. It's a powerful film. It's the film that won Best Foreign Language Film, and it's all about. It's all about the family that live on the fence of Auschwitz. The father, I can't remember his name. His name's left me, but he's basically in charge of Auschwitz, and it really captures perfectly this whole cognitive dissonance. Like, there's this brilliant scene where the mother is out in the garden with her little baby, and she's like, oh, and this is this flower, oh, and that's that flower, oh, look at that, oh, it's lovely, it's beautiful, and you know, and then just, you know, all of these different things, and in the background, that film is built on the sound design, but all throughout the background you just hear these distant screams. And it's nothing gratuitous. It's so clever, you know. Just these, you know, just distant gunshots, and this ever churn of crematorium. Just this at different levels depending on where they are inside the house, but it's always there. and so much so that it just fades into the background. And that's the point. That's the point. And it's powerful. There was actually a moment in it that actually scared me. I've said actually a lot. But it did. Where there's a scene where there's a whole pile of officers in an office, and they're describing the new designs for the new crematorium, and they're like talking about it, and they're like, oh yeah, so like there's like 12 chambers, and the fire basically goes around, so you put one into the first fireplace. By the time it's burnt out, the fire's moved on from there, and they've cooled down, so it's time then to unload the ashes. And like there's a very efficient system whereby, you know, so like the fire moves around and the bits on the other side, you're able to empty it out. And there was a split second moment in my mind where I thought, that's actually a very clever design. Like, and again, that's the point, you know. I was like, that's a very efficient design. That's very clever. For burning the people, like for destroying the evidence of Auschwitz. That's what it was for, you know, for destroying the bodies of human beings. Madness. Powerful film. Let's see. I think about this a lot, but the way you pronounce world is my favorite thing about you. Thank you, Bomix. That's something I get more and more conscious of. It's about world. That's just my accent. World, not world. You know, if I were North American, world war. If I was English, world war. But I'm world war. World war. Even if it's from up north, what would that be? That'd be World War. Yeah, it's still World War. You know, world. It's the world. But for me, world. World War. World War II, World War One. That's very broad. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last night I watched Steven Spielberg's Munich, and I found it to be a very interesting look at the Israel-Palestine conflict. Have you seen it, and what are your thoughts? So, that's a great question from Moore Cruz. Thank you very much. While I was making this video, I listened to the entire King James Bible all the way through. I then listened to the Quran all the way, or a translation of the Quran all the way through. But in different parts of history, so like during the Crusades part, I had on like Kingdom of Heaven. It's not historically accurate, but the what do you call it is far better though. The director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven's excellent. But then when I got up as far as Black September and all, I actually put on Munich, and it really, for ages, it took me ages to watch it. I always got about 20 minutes into it, and I was like, oh, what is this, you know? And like, it's just this whole thing of, oh yeah, we're gonna get back at the Arabs now, and rightly so, with regards like the terror attack was horrendous on these athletes, and like, it's, you know, don't do that, lads. It's a terrible thing to do. And so I just wasn't sure what kind of a story it was going to be. I was like, is this going to be like glorifying this? But I was like, Spielberg, he's not that on the nose. But then once I actually watched it, and like it goes into the moral ambiguity of, you know, of killing these people and all of that, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, no, this, I like this. Like, and I think it's very powerful. There's a great scene where they're in a safe house, I think in Berlin, and there ends up being a gang of, for anyone who doesn't know, Munich is about this group of Israeli assassins who are sent to avenge the Black September terrorist murders of the Olympic athletes. But there's a scene where they're in a Berlin safe house, but they're pretending to be, I think, like an Armenian freedom fighters group or something. And there ends up being a group in there, I think, from the PLO, from the Palestinian Liberation Organization. And because obviously they're not going to be saying, "Oh, we're Israeli." But they have this. There's a great moment where they have this conversation where where the Palestinian perspective is voiced, and it's voiced, I think, in a very good way. And I mean, it's not a perfect film either, but I did enjoy it actually. And I really I'm glad that I did get watching it while I had it. But then on top of that, other films then that I watched, like once I got as far as the Holocaust, I watched a lot of films. The Grey Zone, amazing film, horrendous but amazing. And then Schindler's List, not as good, but like it has its place in cinema history. And The Pianist, horrendous director, what's his name, Roman Polanski, criminal, but sadly The Pianist, I think, is such an important film, and as problematic as Mr. Polanski is, I think it's so important to have had this record of personal experience from the Warsaw ghettos. And what's his name? Adrian Brody in it is just phenomenal. It's a brilliant film. But and also then Conspiracy as well, where it's a HBO movie starring like Kenneth Branagh and Colin Firth and a whole pile of lads. But it's basically can't remember the name of the conference, but it's where all the Nazi higher-ups come together to basically come up with the final solution, where they all realize, look, what are we going to do? We're going to send them to Madagascar? That's too awkward. We're going to do them here? No. What are we going to do? Extermination. That's what it is. That's the final solution. And that's it's a chilling film. It's so disturbing. The Tooch, he's in it. Stanley Tucci, he's great. Let's see. What are your thoughts on the current US administration? You will see it in my film, in my president's video later this year. Well, I say later this year, it'll probably come out January, because I'll probably wait to see the the results, and not just the results of the election, but the results of the election. You know, I genuinely don't know what's going to happen in, was it 5th of November? I'll be shocked if there's not violence. That's the sad reality of it. And I'll not go too much more into it at the moment. Oh, excellent question here now from Bonesaw McGraw. Your username kind of undercuts your really good points here, and I'm not reading this one in the Bonesaw McGraw voice. What are your thoughts on the Uighur internment camps? What do you think many Muslim governments are taking China's side on the issue? Why do you think? On a very simple level, money makes the world go round. That's why anybody, does terrible, and it's not always why anybody does terrible things, but generally when a government sides with the other group who you're kind of like, oh, why did they take that side? Chances are it's because it's better business. That was something actually that that I found quite striking, say, about the Abraham Accords, where it was basically a beginning of the Arab world beginning to move beyond and that had already been happening. I mean, Egypt had been pushing away from the whole Palestine thing anyway, but just where a lot of Arab countries were like, do you know what, let's make money to be made. So at a guess, I don't know enough, but for anyone who doesn't know, basically, the Uyghurs are a group of people in Western China that are Muslim, but basically the Chinese have rounded them up and put them in internment camps, and like probably for the last like 10 years now, at least. And the world's just kind of like, that's a thing, including me. Like I've been guilty of being not loud enough about it, and I probably will continue to be not loud enough. I try, but you know, and same like what's like going on in Sudan as well. It's like there's a whole horror show happening over there, and nobody's talking about it because, you know, everybody's talking about Israel and Palestine because it's, I mean, and this isn't to take away from like what's happening to the Palestinians, but it's like just this central conflict that, you know, that's bringing in so many big players and all that. Whereas, like, you know, nobody cares about Sudan. There's a great line, a horrible line, in the film Hotel Rwanda, where one of the UN, I think it's played by, no, it's not no, it's Nick Nolte, I think plays him. Chris Christopherson, Nick Nolte, I always get that mixed up. But I think it's Nick Nolte. He is playing this UN general or whatever, and he's pulling out, and Don Cheadle is the local Rwandan guy who owns said Hotel Rwanda, and he's like, dude, why are you leaving? Like, there's literally a genocide about to happen. What he's doing, this is where we need you the most. And he basically said, now I'm paraphrasing because it's been a long time since I've seen this film, but he basically says, look, I'm gonna be honest with you, nobody cares. Like, you've got two major problems. One, you're black. Two, you're black Africans. The world doesn't care. You know? And like, that's sadly an ongoing status quo in the world. Now, what has been positive in all of this ongoing conflict in Israel and Palestine is the West showing its true face, and a lot of other countries going, do you know what, we're done with the West. We're done with the West pretending like it's this bastion of human rights and bastion of decency, and no, like, you've absolutely, not that there was much of a mystery, but you know, you've just completely shown your true face. But with regards the Uyghurs, I don't know what's to said or be done other than trying to make sure that people know that they're still there. One thing actually that I found just really fascinating about making this video as well, and indeed like listening to the entire Quran and or translation of, is like just how like the whole Western Islamophobia BS is just so ridiculous, you know. It's just so frustrating. I mean, I've always found it a bit frustrating where it's like, you know, where the Abrahamic religions are all like, oh, you know, oh, what do they believe? What do they believe? What do they believe? It's like, dude, you all believe in the same God. You know, you call him Yahweh, you call him Jehovah, you call him Allah, same dude, you know? Like, and like just this active ignorance, you know, and like the fact that Jesus is an important prophet to Muslims. Not as important as Muhammad, but it's like, and there's plenty of Christians who do not realize that, who don't realize, and it's just like, it's just so frustrating, and the whole disingenuous BS Western image of jihadists and terrorists and all of this. It's like any extremist is like the Christian extremists are just as bad, you know. They're like, well, not suicide bombers. It's like, well, I mean, you know, what's a school shooting? You know, I'm not going to go too much into that because YouTube's going to love me for that. But like, you know, most of them are going into that. They know they're not coming out of it. What's that? What's that? Let's see. Thanks for answering my previous question. On the subject of Roman Polanski, what are your thoughts on separating the art from the artist? It's been quite relevant since #MeToo. I mean, I don't think it's possible to fully separate the art from the artist, as much as I would like to at times. Namely, I do love Harry Potter, but J.K. Rowling is just an increasingly disappointing person. But you can't separate the art from the artist, because the artist created it, you know, so they have brought themselves into it, and you can't divorce the two, in the exact same way as you can't separate the cultural context in which a book has come from. Now, you can be ignorant of it, and hey, ignorance is bliss, but you know, you can't separate the art from the artist. In the same way as like I watched The Pianist, knowing how horrendous the things that Mr. Polanski has done, you know, and it's not, and I don't support him whatsoever. I happen to have The Pianist on DVD, which was given to me as a present years ago, and I think it's a very important film, frustratingly, you know, and like, but that's the, like, we're just in this world of black and white where it's like you either can watch something or you can't, and you can say something or you can't, and it's like, guys, there is such a thing as nuance. Like, why does it have to be all or nothing all the time? You know, like, why does it have to be everything or nothing? It doesn't, you know? Like, media literacy is a thing. And being aware, like, prime example, like, as you can probably see from my shelf back there, I am a huge J.R.R. Tolkien fan. I love J.R.R. Tolkien. Thankfully, he's a lesser problematic writer, but he's not devoid of problematicism, whatever, being problematic. You know, like, I love Lord of the Rings. It is such an important and special film and book to me, and it probably always will be. But I'm also aware that there's a lot of really problematic British colonial yikeses in the text. You know, this Western centric, the old idea of, you know, the West being good and the East being bad, and you know, like, all of this really problematic, like the descriptions he has of the Urukai, of, you know, the dark skin. I think he does quite more than once use the term like slanty-eyed and things like that, where you're just like, ugh, yikes. you know, and so like just or even like the idea of half trolls coming up from the south, and like, you know, there's a lot of yikeses, and even the idea of races, you know, because he grew up in a time where eugenics was a big talking point, and a lot of people were discussing it, and this idea of the race of men, you know, in different strains, where you've got like the Numenorians, who are this superior race of men, so much so that it's Aragorn. He deserves to be the king, you know, because of his sacred bloodline, but also he's just a better race of men. Because, and it's a line that I often kind of say, but when you actually listen to the wording of it, where Gandalf kind of talks about how, you know, the line of kings was broken. The race of Gondor was handed over to lesser men. You know, and yeah, you know, you can say, yeah, they were lesser men, but like literally the idea of lesser men, they don't live as long. They're not as proud. They're not as strong. They're not as regal. They're not as deserving, long bereft of lordship. Yeah. So there's all of that yikesiness in Lord of the Rings. But you can be aware of those things and also enjoy it, you know? And, you know, you can go, ugh, I don't like that bit, you know? As opposed to going, no, I'm going to ignore the existence of it completely and just la 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 and ignore my little favorite stories from when I was a child, la 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 la. That's not how it works. In the exact same way with history, that's not how it works. You know, you can't just pick the bits that you like and leave out the bits that you don't like, you know? And some would say, well, why didn't you do that in your Israel-Palestine video? That's fair. That's a fair criticism. Folks, I've been on for 2 hours and 5 minutes. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm going to take 3 more. I'm going to scroll right down to the bottom. Apologies if I have missed your comments, but I'm just going to do 1 or 2 more. Let's see. Truckle Nero quote is, you could own this friggin' hotel. Oh, right. Okay. You could own this friggin', this is from Hotel Rwanda, I'm assuming. You could own this friggin' hotel, except for one thing, you're black. You're not even N-word. Yes. You're an African. That's what it is. You're not going to stay, Paul. They're not going to stop this slaughter. They're not going to stay, Paul. They're not going to slaughter. Yeah. You're African. That's what it is. And it's harsh. And sadly, it is so true. Not in the way of, I agree with that, but it's so true that very much appears to be the Western stance on so much of that. That's what frustrates me about it. Let's see, Frugal Jimmy. As an Irish, Finnish, Scots, Canadian, I often try to wrap my head around Finland World War II. I can't find much in the history books beyond the military conflict with Russia. What of the politics? I'm going to be honest, I don't know too much about the politics of it. Like, you know, because there are some who are like, yeah, where did they side with the Nazis? To be honest, I think it was very much the Soviet Union has just invaded us and we are going to defend our homeland. Kind of a common thread in a lot of ways. Similar in some ways to say, like when Ukraine was quote unquote liberated by the Nazis, because they were like, happy days, Nazi Germany is here, because the Soviets literally starved us throughout the 1930s. So yay. Now, that's not to say that sadly their anti-Semitism was very strong within Ukraine, and they very much helped a lot. Not they as in everyone, but there were plenty who did help. And, you know, plenty across Eastern Europe helped. You know, like that's the sad thing. But yeah, with regards to Finland, I think it was very much it was also a reassertion, because they had only just gained their independence from Russia post Russian Revolution. So they were like, no, Soviet Union, we just stop. I mean, they did concede. They gave away their northeast arm. You know, they used to say it looked like a dancing lady, but then they lost one of the arms to Russia, and then they lost a bit along the kind of southeastern flank. But yeah, I need to look more into it. John, what's your opinion on Pope Francis? There's been worse popes. I mean, sometimes goes back and forth where you say something where you're like, oh wow, he's progressive, and then he'll say something else. You're like, oh yeah, he's a Catholic pope. But generally, I think Pope Francis is a net positive, as opposed to say like Pope Benedict XVI, who I thought was not great. You know, I find he brought a lot of the Catholic Church back a gear, like with a lot of those kind of change. Now I know it wasn't him I don't know if it was him personally, but like a lot of the retranslations of English, of the English Mass. I don't know if they did it in other languages actually, but all I know is when they retranslated a lot of the stuff, it became much more archaic, and for us and for our salvation, became back again for us men and for our salvation, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, or God be with you and also with you, it's like, Lord be with you and with your spirit. And it's like, it's a bit clumsy. Also, I felt really bad for all the ones who had like written all of these beautiful pieces of music based around the English translations of all these prayers, and then the prayers get retranslated as they're like, the lyrics don't work anymore. Holy, holy, holy Lord God of power and might, which, or holy, holy, holy Lord God of hosts. What does that even mean? I know it's like, like armies or whatever, but still, power and might, so much better. Anyway, apologies for the typos, don't worry. Artist, Mr. Was an artist. Would anyone in their right mind hang his art in their home? There are some who collect those paintings wherever they are. Like, there's a market for them. Cruz, I watched The Pianist knowing of Polanski's crimes and still enjoyed it. Yeah. Enjoyed's a strong word. It appreciated the film. I get what you mean. I get what you mean. Okay, I'm nearly finished here, and I think we all are nearly finished here. Let's see. Alan Strikes Back. As far as I enjoyed the movie Big Fat Liar, Dan Schneider was involved in the production, which puts a bad taste in my mouth given what happened at Nickelodeon. Yeah, I haven't seen the... Was it... Let's see, sorry. Just replying to a text. I haven't seen As a Quiet on Set. I haven't watched it yet. I really want to. I wasn't as emotionally connected to a lot of those. Like I kind of aged out a little bit. Although I was a big Kenan and Kel fan when I was a kid. But yeah. I actually loved Big Fat Liar when I was like 11 or 12. I had such a crush on what's her name, Amanda Bynes. Like, it's so sad seeing what happened to her. Oh my god. And like so many, like I listened to the audiobook of Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mother Died. It's so sad. Like child actors are like they need to be, people need to do a better job. People need to do a better job. Anyway, so nearly finished here now. Would you ever be interested in visiting Charleston, South Carolina? Absolutely, yeah. A lot of history there. A lot of history. I'd love to actually there's a lot of places in the south that I'd love to visit. Finland was a weird situation where, despite not being openly allied with the Nazis, Germany was sort of the only major player which treated Finland with any dignity. Shush! With any dignity or respect at the time. Yeah. And finally, they had just gained independence and even had a short civil war. I agree on that take. He's been for the most part good with opening up to LGBT. Oh, this is regarding the Pope. People, but then recently he condemned gender ideology. Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like, oh, cool. He's like, oh, who am I to judge about gay people? Oh, gender ideology. Oh, that's another thing. It's like, dude, come on. Your entire friggin' church is built around gender ideology. You know, this is the men, women. They do this, they do that. We don't want, I'm not gonna. That would be an ecumenical matter. And I will not go into that right now. Finally. Martian Cookie Hunter, great name. Would you ever consider making more lore videos for fictional universes like your Middle Earth videos? Absolutely. One that which I think I'm going to do sooner rather than later, is a Metal Gear Solid one. I have a script for that written from about 2014 or 15, so pre Phantom Pain, so I'd actually need to update it just to kind of have that wonderful little twist in there. Yeah, no, I definitely want to do that one, because that in a lot of ways inspired this entire series with Metal Gear Solid, because if you look at that opening spiel at the start of Snake Eater, after World War II, the world was divided into East and West, become the Cold War, or whatever it was. Like, that is very much there in my Cold War video. Like, the DNA of that little, like, I'm pretty sure my Cold War video opens with the phrase, after World War II. The DNA is there. It very much is there. Mirror Cruise, love Metal Gear Solid, so good. And literally, hold on, I'll show you just to finish up. I have this. Oh, there we go. I can see myself going over there. Is that what my butt looks like? That's wonderful. So, Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence, which also contains Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, and the original Metal Gear Solid 3. This was the first Metal Gear Solid game this was given to me on my 17th birthday, I think. Thanks, I think that was Joe Devlin gave me that one. Thank you very much. Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. I want to play this one again, but with a Vita, because I played it with just a regular PSP, and it's impossible, because the controls are just terrible. And then this wonderful thing. This is basically what you've all seen, except Peace Walker. Peace Walker, so good. I love Peace Walker. And then you'll notice this. From now on, it's in chronological order of game as opposed to release order. And then Ground Zeroes. When I saw this, I was like, oh my god, did Metal Gear Solid 5 come out? Because I wasn't really paying attention. And I was just like, oh my god, this is so cool. So I bought it. I like playing it going, this is Metal Gear Solid 5. What the hell? I thought it was coming out in the PS4. But this is out in the PS3. What's going on here? So, I was rudely awakened. And then Phantom Pain. Phantom Pain. Love Phantom Pain. Phantom Pain. So good. Many's an hour were cracked into that one. And then, of course, the original Metal Gear Solid. And then, this is getting more and more awkward to do. Then, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. And then, Metal Gear Solid 2, Substance, with the wonderful, what do you call it? Skateboarding sequence. It's great fun. And then finally, Metal Gear Solid 4, the game that begrudgingly lets you play it on occasion. That's what I love about Metal Gear Solid 5 is Metal Gear Solid 5 is the game that Metal Gear Solid 4 wanted to be. Where it wanted to you know, Metal Gear Solid 4 claimed that it was like all open world and you can choose your own path. And it's like, yeah, you can choose route A or route B, but usually the game like kind of wants you to go route A anyway. And you know, as opposed to Metal Gear Solid 5 was like, your goal's in there, go get it. And you're like, from where? Wherever you want, buddy. So I like that. Anyway, hey Jay, big it up, Rathmole. Also, thanks for reminding me, because finally, for shame, what? You forgot Metal Gear Rising? I don't have Metal Gear Rising. I must get it. I've never actually played Metal Gear Rising. Yeah, hardcore metal. You're not pulling me up on Metal Gear. What was that? Horrendous Survive. That was post Kojima. Yeah, no, my favorite one, all in all, is Snake Eater. Finally, though, just to finish, because I have a couple of visitors there from a school I was in today, I am going to show you some fun stuff. I have fan art. I don't remember where all of these are from, sadly, but I've been meaning to show you about all of these, because they're cool, and I love these. I love fan art. If you've got any fan art, you're welcome to send them. Hold on, actually, I'll put wet Burks 13296. Oh, whoops, yeah. County, Donegal, Ireland. If anybody wants to send fan mail, they can do so there. P.O. Box 13296, Letterkenny, County Donegal. But yeah, so we got some lovely little thank you cards. This one is from Austin. Thank you for teaching us art and history. I go into schools doing all sorts of history workshops and stuff. Oh, this one's so cute. I love it. It's great. That one's from Simon. Thanks for all the pro tips. Thank you. I love all the wee man. They're so cute. And oh, can you see them all right? I can hold them up. This one. Thank you so much for teaching and helping us in art and history. From Ethan. I think your man pictures are actually slightly better than mine. I'm slightly jealous. They're really cute. Oh, this one as well. I love this one. I got this letter. Now, a lot of these are late. A lot of these, like, I got maybe, like, years ago at this stage. But this one was very sweet. But it's just nice. Yeah, May 7th, whatever year that was. Dear Mr. Ruddy, hi there. My name is Rita, and I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm writing just to say, number one, how big of a fan I am of your videos. And number two, thank you. I am a senior in high school and have been the nerdiest history buff my entire life, to the point that I used to, and still do to this day, watch history videos for fun. Nothing wrong with that. Your videos are my absolute favorite, both to watch and learn from. Your videos have helped me ace so many history classes. Are currently saving me. Okay, yeah, are currently saving me before my IB history exams. So thank you. I have been eyeing your merch for forever, but the shipping to the US is insane. Yeah, I need to sort that out. If you have any spare time, an autograph would seriously mean the most. Again, thank you for all of your hard work, and I look forward to enjoying your videos in college and beyond. Best regards, Rita. Thank you so much, Rita. That's a very sweet one. I love that. And let's see. Keep that in there. I keep all my fan mail. It's very sweet. I love it. This one, oh, this is lovely. Yeah, this is from a school. Which school was it? Do they have it? This was Charlotte. Sincere thanks to all help and creativity during this project. Hope to see you again soon. Oh, this was Glenn McQuinn, National School. Shout out. I did some music videos with them, which is a lot of fun. And this little gent who sent me, now, this gent is probably more than 8 years old at this stage. What's that one? Let's see. To John D. Ruddy, my name is Sebastian. I'm 8 years old. I am a history buff. I've read both of your books. My favorite one is Revolutionary Ireland, 1916 to 1923. I loved your illustrations, and I loved the mini fighting. I watched your YouTube World War I and World War II videos. I hoped you could do World War I and World War II in book form. Me too. Tell that to my publisher. Please, could you do it in detail? I would like to do that. Yes. When I am an adult, I would like to be a history teacher, just like you. Ah, thank you, Sebastian. Thank you so much. That's so sweet. And yeah, he's probably not 8 years old now. He's probably like 12. That was a while ago. Or he's pretty older than that. Dear John, I'm just finally getting around to all these, so I was like, you know what, I'll check them out. Dear John, hi, my name is Chris. I am in 5th class. I'm a fan of yours, and I love your YouTube channel, Manny Man. I go to Letterkenny, school, and I found out you... Oh yeah, you used to work here. We sometimes on a Friday have a school assembly. I would like to invite you to one. Oh yeah, that's right. I know. I did get in... yeah, they invited me into a school. Shout out to Chris, who invited me in, and we had a lot of fun that day. Oh, this one's so cool. This is big on Manny Man. I love it. It's crazy. Yes, I have the picture that you and Rory made. I think I should do. Also, I tend to get some portraits as well. Sometimes some of the students draw me, and I love them, because what I love about it is that it actually reminds me of me. You're like, well, John, of course it reminds you of you. It's you. But specifically, when I was in college, I had a lecturer. His name was Dr. Hugh Gash, and he was an early childhood psychologist, and he was brilliant. But he showed us all sorts of wonderful videos, like when he tried to feed a baby to a lobster. He didn't actually, but it was more of a thing of, how would a baby react to the bizarreness of a lobster? And we were all like, dude, what are you doing? Baby was fine, the lobster was fine. I'm sure it tasted great. But yeah, I drew a whole pile of portraits of him during my exams, and at the very end of the course, I actually photocopied all of the portraits and put them in a little collage and gave them to him. And he was like, "Oh, wow, that's so sweet. No one's ever done that before." I was like, "I would hope not. It's kind of weird." But yeah. Anyway, there's another one. Lovely. Oh, that's very sweet. Very sweet. I'll not read all of them out because we've got loads here, but I just want to show you some of the... Oh, this is cool. Manny Man. History. I know I'm late for school. Wait a minute. I'm 32. Oh, I'm the teacher. So true. Oh, we have another one. We've got a Viking warrior here. Love it. And on the back, we've got some more Manny Man characters. Love this. So cool. I always love seeing other people's interpretations of Manny Man. It's really cool. Oh, I love this one. Welcome to the future. Ooh. Oh, and a little Manny Man's son. That's cute. So these are the ones that I got literally, not all of them today, but I got most of them today. This one I need to stick up somewhere here in my office. I love this. It's me. So I was literally wearing this t-shirt today, so that's what this t-shirt is. And it's me. I love this so much. It's great. It's just, and like it even has, no, I don't have them here, but it even has like my ridiculously bright runners, which is just magic. I love it so much. Here is Manny Man, but he's like a well-ripped soldier, so good for him. And here is me. Literally me. This is class. I love it. Even got my green eyes. I love it. It's so cool. And here. Oh, I got this one today. It's so true. It's Manny. It's me as Manny Man. And a laptop going blah, 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 blah. Ah, it's so true. It's just great. It's so funny. It's just hilariously true. I love it. And then just finally, there's two more completely unrelated in their art, but they're just so good. I kind of felt bad for taking them because I was like, dude, he's like, I've drawn loads more. These Five Nights at Freddy ones. Shout out to Kyle. These are so good. Like, I'm not sure what age this guy. Like, he was in one of the younger classes too. I think this dude's like about 9 or 10. Such talent. Like, look at this. So good. Like, I'm so impressed with this. Like, this reminds me of the kind of stuff that I loved to draw when I was his age. Like, but that's probably a bit better than my one. What I would have drawn at that age, but so good. So now I am all caught up with my fan art. Actually, there's one more portrait that someone did of me, which I don't have with me right now, so I'll have to save that for the next one. So finally, somebody decided to close things with a nice loaded question. Why did the Jews leave Arab nation after Israel independence? Why did they leave Arab nation after? Oh, why? Like, why? I mean, I think what you might be saying, like, why didn't they join up with Arabs? I think the idea was that Jews wanted to make sure that they had a Jewish majority in the state of Israel, and if they had just like done a full-on one-state solution, they wouldn't have had that. And that's also, I think, another reason why they would be against a one-state solution nowadays. I think nowadays a one-state solution is kind of one of the only things that might actually work at this stage, because I don't think a two-state solution is viable at this stage. Because I mean, you need trust, and they don't trust each other, especially when like they're massacring each other one side, doing the other in particular. Anyway, on that note, thank you all so much for joining me. Oh yeah, there John is Cal from Rathmullen. Oh, he's from 4th class. There you go. 4th class. So what age is that? That's like, it's like 9, 10. Yeah, about that. Amazing work, Cal. Good for you. So, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Yeah. Thank you all so much for the kind super chats and for the great chats in general. I thoroughly enjoyed this. 2.5 hours. Brilliant. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I will be on again. Let's see, what date did I put up? April, May. Did I not write it up there? Oh, I did. Yeah, there it is. May. Oh, the very last day of May. So I'm aiming for the last Friday of each month, and the last day of May is indeed a Friday. So 31st of May, I'll be back on here to chat, to update, to get into history, to get into Metal Gear Solid, whatever, and we'll go from there. So, appreciate the stream. Great way to relax on Friday evening. Glad to have been here for the chat and bonus fan mail. See you next time. Thank you so much, Thomas, and I will see you all.